In today's crafty tutorial, I'll be using my Cricut Explore Air 2 to create this winter wreath perfect for a holiday tablescape. First of all, here's a quick supply rundown. I am going to make my wreath using Cricut cardstock in green. I've got 2 different colors of green there. I bought a whole package and I'll show you that later. And then I also thought it'd be nice to use some of their genuine leather. And I actually like the underside of the leather, that light color. Looks so pretty. For the wreath form, I am using an embroidery hoop, and we will use both parts of the hoop, both circles, and you'll see why once we get started. So get yourself one of those. They're pretty cheap, and you can often find them at secondhand stores or art stores. And then you'll need some small finishing nails, like a 1-inch finishing nail. I've got this little set from the dollar store, and it's sort of perfect. Lots of nice, clean, simple little nails for crafting. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to kind of squeeze the nails in between the 2 hoops. If you can see, I've got 2 started there, and those are going to be what keeps our candles in place. So we'll talk more about that in a moment. You may want a hammer to help insert those nails, and then candles, lots of little candles. I'm a collector of odds and ends like this, so I had lots of candles on hand. The beeswax ones are too small. Search something like candles for a German fan or Christmas tree candles, and you should find something like those white ones. And then, of course, we will be using our Cricut Explore Air 2. This is going to make this intricate project so simple. For most projects, my Cricut machine is loaded with the fine point blade. That's the silver one that you see me holding here. But to cut the genuine leather, we will be using the deep point blade. So just a note, some of these different materials, the Cricut can cut, over 100 materials, but you will need the proper blade. And then I am using a glue gun, and it's good to have a couple extra glue sticks on hand. And, for the Cricut, there are some other accessories. You'll need the mat, and it's good to have the weeder for peeling the cardstock and leather off the mat once the cutting is complete. Okay, so the first step here is we're going to set up the wreath, and we need to insert the nails so that we have something to put our candles or keep our candles in place. Now I'm using a ruler just to help me kind of mark where the 6 candles are going to sit. I am not measuring, I am just kind of eyeballing like, okay, that looks about even. The ruler does help with that process, putting little marks where I'm going to put these candles. And then here's how I did it. I'm on a work table, so I just started hammering it through the 2 hoops, and then once you get it started, you can kind of push it through so that you're not hammering right into your table. Flip it over, and you've got a nail there that is really won't move or shouldn't move if the embroidery hoop is nice and tight. And we can put our candles on. And this took me some thinking, but I think I figured out how we're going to do this. Since the candles are so thin, they can easily crack when you kind of work them onto the nail. So what we did is got a cup of hot water, just used the kettle to boil some water. And then I just stuck the end of each candle into the hot water just for about 10 seconds. And that made it easier to slide these small candles onto the nail without the candle cracking. Now, if you're struggling, if this is just like, it's not working, I would just suggest using a larger candle, something like an emergency candle that you get in a pack of 6 at the dollar store. Those tend to be small, white, not too large, not too tall. So that is how we approach the candle problem. What I did is put all 6 candles onto the form and then took them off. And now we're going to talk about building the wreath. As I mentioned in our supply rundown, we are using Cricut cardstock in green, and then a piece of genuine leather that comes in a single sheet, and then the cardstock came in a pack with all these different colors. So that's what the products look like. Now what we need to do is just draw a bunch of different leaves in order to give our wreath a nice organic, natural look. So I'm going to do this design on my iPad. But what you see me doing here is simply making a negative positive image. So I hope you can see that you could do this on computer paper with a black Sharpie. We are just doing silhouettes of a bunch of leaves. They don't have to be super intricate. They can be super intricate. That's the magic of the Cricut. So just make a design with maybe 5, 6 leaves, or you could just do 2 leaves. As long as you've got a couple different ones, you'll be fine. And I'm going to transfer that to my computer. Then we are going to turn on our Cricut machine. I've hooked it up to my laptop. And we'll come over here to my laptop, and I am going to open the Cricut design space. I just had it in the dock there. This is what it looks like when you open it. There's all kinds of projects, but we're going to do our own project today, our own design. So I'll select new project. Then I'm going to go to upload once we're in the design canvas. Upload image. You can browse on the computer or just drag and drop. I've got mine sitting on the desktop. Now you can see my file has been uploaded, and because it's a black and white silhouette, I'm going to go with simple here. So just tell the Cricut it's a very simple image. And then we come into this portion where you have this magic wand where you can select and erase. So what we're going to do is erase any white parts so that we have a background that is transparent. So I just click the magic wand on anything I want to erase. So that's why you really don't need an iPad. You can do this with a JPEG that you drew and photographed, and the background is gone. Next, click continue and then save as a cut image. We do not need the Cricut to print this. We just want the Cricut to cut these leaves. So save as a cut image. Mine already has a name, but you could insert a file name there. And then that image is done. It is now in your design space, and you can insert it into the canvas where we're kind of figuring out the design that the Cricut will actually cut. So there it is. It's looking good. It doesn't have a background anymore. All the leaves are just the way I want. I'm going to make it the size that I think will be about good. Then I just right click to duplicate it. And what I'll do is I'll just make them all a slightly different size so that, again, the leaves look organic. And I'm going to fit as many as I can on my mat. My particular cutting mat is 30 by 30 centimeters, and I can see those measurements here. So I'll click Make It, and the Cricut will position those however best it needs to cut them out. I can click Continue. I can see my design is laid out nicely there. And now the Cricut will connect to your computer if you've got it all plugged in or connected with Bluetooth. You need to set the material at this point. So just turn the dial to cardstock if you are following along and using cardstock like I am. We know we have the fine point blade in there, so that is good. And what we're going to do is smooth that cardstock onto that cutting mat that I mentioned. Then you're going to feed it in, press this button here. That's going to load the mat into the machine. And you'll notice the instructions are all happening on your computer. It'll say press go, and you can do that. Your Cricut is all ready to do all the hard work of this project for you. And it'll start cutting, and it's going to beautifully cut all those intricate leaves, and you don't have to lift a finger. So pour yourself a cup of tea, and it'll actually give you a bit of a countdown on your computer screen. Once it is done, you can unload it, unload the mat, peel up that paper, and then I use my little weeder to get all the leaves off the mat because, of course, the mat is just a little bit tacky. So yeah. Okay, now let's have a little chat about the leather. As you can see, I've smoothed the leather onto the mat. Then we move that dial to custom. Once you do that in your computer, you'll see this menu pop up. Once the dial is set to custom, you'll see faux leather there, but that's not what we are using. We are using the genuine. So go to browse all materials, and this is fun. You can see all the different materials that the Cricut can cut from, glitter paper to metallic leather to genuine leather. And that is exactly what we're going to click. And then it gives you that instruction to load the deep point blade. So if you forgot or you didn't know which blade you needed, the Cricut is telling you that. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We'll click that in place. For the leather, you also want to move these little star wheels over just so that they don't leave marks on the genuine leather. And then same drill, we've loaded the mat, pressed go, and we are going to let the Cricut do the hard work of cutting out all these pretty leather leaves. This is when the project gets really fun and really, really easy. I've got a whole bowl of leather and paper leaves here now. For some of the paper ones, I'm shaping them a bit, giving them a bit of curve or whatever, and the cardstock tends to stay if you do fold it gently. And I'm using a hot glue gun to simply go around the entirety of this wreath form and just glue on all these leaves. And I'm going to be alternating the 3 different colors. I've got a deep green, a light green, and the leather, of course. And I'm sort of curving the leaves as I go. The cardstock is really good for shaping them slightly. And you might notice my glue gun is a funny color. That's because I also use this glue gun for wax seals. So even though I have clear glue in there right now, there's still some sparkly wax residue, which is like totally fine. You'll never see it. But yeah, I'm just gonna go all the way around and try to fill in this embroidery hoop so that you cannot see it. And something that I didn't mention when we were going through the project earlier is that I did 3 different leaf designs. So I did, 4 different leaves for the leather, 6 different leaves for the light green, and 6 different leaves for the dark green. I was just being a little bit extra. You do not have to do that, but if you have the time to, set up those designs, it makes it all the more intricate and interesting when you look at the finished product. So you can see most of my leather leaves are quite large and smooth without a lot of detail. And then I have some like almost evergreen looking stuff for the dark green. And there is my wreath. It is getting filled in. Now what we want to do, it's full, and yet I'm kind of going to go around and look on the edges, look for bald spots, and I'll just fill those in. So that is the kind of final step. Once we get those filled in, I've got a big thing of wax and glue there. This is always the fun of the glue gun, is getting rid of all the little hairs. So I'll continue going around looking for bald spots. Then what I want to do is I decided I had a few extra leather leaves. I want to glue those right onto the bottom of the wreath so that I get a nice full effect, and the wreath doesn't look too sparse. They kind of look pretty sitting right out onto the table if you glue them right on the bottom. So we will do that, and that's really easy to do, especially with those leather ones. And if I flip it over, you can see what I mean. They're glued right onto the bottom of the wreath. And I'll put those other ones on. And then I decided I needed some more intricate, larger leaves. So I did 2 more designs on the iPad. These are them here. One is kind of looks like leaves and berries. The other one is an intricate evergreen sprig. I got the Cricut to print them out and cut them for me, or cut them, not print them. And now what I need to do is just fill in a little bit more and really make this wreath come to life. So again, I'm curving the cardstock slightly so that the wreath has some movement and it looks really natural and organic. And we're just going to go around one more time with our hot glue here, and we're going to place all these beautiful leaves. How I'm approaching these ones mainly is not gluing them to the wreath form, but just gluing them to other leaves that are already fixed in place. And I think you'll see as I go around, this is when the wreath really comes to life and starts to look organic and full and Christmassy or wintry. With that done, all you need to do is grab your candles and slide them back on. You've already made the hole, so they should go onto the nail pretty easily. You still want to be careful. And you can place a few extra leaves if you are like me and you just can't stop and you just keep filling in and gluing and gluing and gluing. At a certain point though, your wreath will be finished. It has a beautiful, organic, wintry look. And I'm just so pleased with this project. I hope you'll give this a try because the Cricut really makes the process simple. And you have these beautifully intricate sprigs of evergreen and berries and leaves. So there is mine all done, very perfectly imperfect, and just a lovely winter centerpiece for my table. I placed it on my dining table at home, and I think it's just going to be a lovely thing to enjoy this winter. I will not be lighting the candles. I should mention that. They are just for show. So do not fear. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check the description below for links to all these products, and I will see you soon with a new tutorial.